I'm going to have Mr. Byers is at another meeting, so he can't chair. So I'm going to ask Ms. Baker to chair this meeting.
Good afternoon. I'm Rebecca Baker, standing in for Chairperson Byers. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the State Crisis Intervention Program Advisory Board and ask to call roll.
Dave Byers. Kara Riley. Russ Skinner.
James McFarland here for Russ Skinner.
Jeffrey Glover.
Eli Griego here for Colonel Glover.
Laura Conover. Rachel Mitchell.
Rebecca Baker on behalf of Rachel Mitchell.
Thank you. Chris Mace.
Tom Rankin present for Attorney General Mays.
Jane Bishop. Dave Sanders.
Here.
Dan Levy.
Here.
Adam Adinolfi.
I'm here, by the way, Rebecca. This is Dan Levy.
Thank you.
We got you, Dan.
Adam Adinolfi. I'm assuming you're having mic issues. Got it. Thank you.
We'll note that Mr. Adinolfi is present. He has mic issues.
Rosemary Penna Lynch. Margie Balfour. We have a quorum.
The minutes.
Then we'll move to item number 2 on the agenda. The minutes from the February 14th meeting were attached to the agenda, and I would invite members to review them and invite a motion to approve them.
I move to accept the minutes as drafted. Sanders.
Tom Rankin second.
With a first and a second. Do I ask for a vote on that?
You can call for a vote. Mr. Adinolfi, if you could signal your vote either through an emoji or a chat, something that indicates if you still have mic issues, we would appreciate that.
Thank you. Then all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. It sounds like the ayes have it. Minutes are approved.
And then item number 3, Rebecca.
Right. Folks, we're going to move on to item number 3, and Mr. Vidali is going to present to us some additional applications for grant funds.
Madam Chair, thank you. Item 3 is approval of the Arizona State Crisis Intervention Program grant projects from the Arizona Administrative Office of the Courts and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Before we get to this, the items that you're going to vote to move forward, just want to give you a little bit of an update on the other projects that you approved at the last meeting. I'm going to have Sienni get us up to speed, just at a high level, kind of where we're at with those 7 projects.
Thank you. Madam Chair and board members, since our last meeting on February 14, the board approved 7 projects and sent the 3 projects to be back for revision. The 7 projects were onboarded. We have 6 grant agreements that were signed, and 1 is awaiting the Board of Supervisors approval. We have not received any reimbursement requests, so though the project may have started, we don't have any requests just yet. Of the 3 projects that were sent back, 2 of them, Arizona AOC and Maricopa County Attorney's Office resubmitted their application. The application was open from February 14 through March 15, and we encountered a system issue, so we were able to extend the project or the application deadline through March 22nd. With that, I'll turn to Tony.
Thanks, Sienni. Madam Chair, members, so basically, we had these three projects that weren't in perfect alignment with the requirements of the SCIP program as laid out by the Bureau of Justice Assistance. And the advisory board voted and approved allowing those three projects to take back their application, look at where they were not in strong alignment based on staff's review and scoring and comments of those grants, address those shortcomings to get the application in better alignment with the federal guidelines for SCIP, and then resubmit those. And so, as Sienna mentioned, we had two projects that resubmitted, AOC and MCAO. Salt River Pima did not submit a revised application. So what you have before you is a recommendation to move forward the two projects from AOC and MCAO totaling $2,906,701.27. Will if you so approve these projects, we'll move them forward to BJA, go through the same process. They will review the projects, and then they ultimately will approve those for us to release funding to and start those projects, or some other option, which could be a rejection, it could be a revision, it could be something less than funding the full projects. The full project. So we don't know what we'll get back from them, but we're going to try the best we can to move these two projects forward if you so choose. The two projects that you have before you, the resubmissions, the one from AOC, it's basically focused on probation and the pretrial system. Its main focus is to enhance outdated case management system. The system aims to provide probation officers with immediate and reliable access to critical public safety information. Basically, the project is going to improve field operations, ensure more effective supervision and immediate communication with law enforcement during critical interventions. And we think it is preventative in that it allows for immediate identification and monitoring of high-risk individuals, particularly those with histories of gun violence. And then it aims to reduce further offenses and enhance community safety through those efforts. The main problem with this project initially, and really the MCAO one that I'll mention here in a couple minutes, was that it was really focused on enforcement efforts. It had very little prevention components. Sort of an approach to get out in front of the problem, I think, is what BJA was looking for, although they didn't expressly say that in the grant announcement when they released it to state administering agencies. But ultimately, that's where their decisions began to fall with these projects as they were submitted. We think that there is enough, there have been enough revisions with the AOC project that make it maybe not in perfect alignment, but do make it stronger in its prevention and crisis intervention versus crisis response, which would be sort of after the fact, the reaction to gun violence, injury, and death. The project total would be $2,430,000. That would come out of the state pot of money. We have three different pots of money: a state pot, a pass-through or local jurisdiction pot of money, and then what we call the less than 10,000 that you decided at the outset would be a specific project that AOC would oversee. And so this would come out of the state pot of money, and then the MCO one would be out of the local pot. The MCAO project is primarily focused on utilizing paralegals to better handle cases and prosecution of cases that involve gun violence, particularly the interplay between the county attorney's office and the National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. There would be 3 paralegals that would support the Crime Gun Intelligence Center. The paralegals would be essentially managing the increasing influx of NIBIN leads, and better preparing and cases and being more efficient and streamlining the processing of those cases. There is one of the main revisions that the MCAO project has is a significant community engagement component. It was lacking in the first version of the application, but really looks at elevating public awareness and educating residents about gun violence prevention through targeted campaigns and outreach programs. There is also a legislative a policy effort that is related to the project. The grant funding isn't supporting that, but it is part of the effort to get out in front of the gun problem in the county. We think it is proactive in that it enhances community safety, demonstrates MCAO's commitment to prosecuting and preventing gun-related offenses through education, that legislative advocacy, and then more efficient prosecution of cases. That particular project would total $476,701.27. It would fund personal services and ERE, and then there's a smaller pot of that grant that would go towards indirect cost rates. And those 3 folks would be with the program for a period of about 3 years, maybe a little over 2 years. With that, Madam Chair, that is my summary of the 2 projects and the total amount that we would submit to BJA.
Thank you for that summary. So I'll open it up and ask if any members attending virtually have any questions.
I do have a question regarding the county attorney's proposal. This is Adam Adinolfi.
Thank you, Mr. Alfie. Could you, sir, ask your question?
Sure. I was just wondering what had changed, if we could review what had changed between the prior proposal and this proposal, if I understood you correctly, Mr. Bileski.
So, Mr. Adinolfi, if I could refer you to page 12 of the agenda. I included in the agenda 2 sections. One was a similarity between the original and the revised proposal. And then I had a section in there, the differences between the original and revised proposals. So we basically tried as best we could to match up the 2 and pick out the similarities and the differences so that you could tell that what these 2 agencies did not do is just simply resubmit the original proposals, even though there are some significant components of both versions that are the same. They did try and get in alignment with some of our main criticism, which was not a large enough focus on connecting with the community, and not a large enough effort to reduce instances of gun violence before it gets to the point where gun crime is perpetrated and someone is arrested and prosecuted. So, Mr. Adinolfi, just in case you don't have an agenda in front of you.
I do.
You do. Okay. So it's we pointed out about 7 differences in the MCAO revision that addressed our concerns and made it a stronger application. It is true that the core approach is still utilizing paralegals to make more efficient processing of cases, but we think they did implement a stronger community connection and preventive efforts.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
This is Shannon Burns, and I'm here for Rosemary for Maricopa County Indigent Defense. Thank you for clarifying on the MCA 01 that legislative is not necessarily a component of it. It was just something they added on. So I appreciate that clarification, because that was a question I had, is whether legislation was part of it. But in regards to the one for AOC, I just want to confirm that the intention of the program is to really address specific probationers and pretrial persons who have gun violence in their history, and not just use it because maybe they had a possession in their history, but it would actually have to be somebody who had a concern of gun violence in their history.
I'm not sure how to answer that. When you described it, it sounded like the same thing to me, and I don't have the ear of an attorney. So one of the issues that we had with the AOC proposal was that it seemed to be focused on improving the probation system to better manage the probation population in general. And then if some of that population were involved in violent crime that involved firearms, then they were included. What we took from the rewrite was there was sort of an emphasis on those that have firearm violence in their past, or were at risk, or are at risk, or would be at risk, I guess, if they're a managed population, would be at risk of firearm violence, whether that be a perpetrator or a victim. That was the main difference that we pulled from the revised application. I don't know if that answers your question, though, because I'm not sure that I'm not sure that I understand it fully.
Well, I think the difference would be if the previous charges were maybe aggravated assault with a deadly weapon versus someone who gets picked up for something else and they're a prohibited possessor, or misconduct involving a weapon. They shoot off a weapon unintentionally. So I think that would be the difference. And I don't even know if they can track the differences between how they're going to use it, but I think we just don't want it to be a blanket. Anybody who has a gun history this is going to be used for.
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that without having that sounds pretty specific to a particular probation management approach. And I don't know how I would answer that. The only thing that I could answer here is what they're proposing is to enhance the system, which will help them better manage individuals that are at risk of gun violence or perpetrating gun violence. I don't know that there's a specific I didn't glean from the proposal that there was a specific focus on a specific gun offense or type of offender. I thought the proposal, the way it was written, was more high level than that. And so a detail like that and a concern like that, I think AOC would have to address.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. So given the discussion we just had, does it appear, I'm guessing since you're recommending that the staff recommendation is to approve both of these projects, does it appear that the AOC project falls within what's eligible under this grant?
Madam Chair, yes, it does appear that what they're proposing is eligible. I think the question, and it really goes to both projects, is it too heavily weighted on enforcement? Is this really about dealing with at-risk individuals after the crime has happened, instead of a preferred approach where projects are focused on the crisis intervention activities that would prevent the gun crime from happening in the first place. That they weren't, the BJA has not been very specific. Well, they were not specific in making that point in the original solicitation. My guess is because they've heard enough from state administering agencies about not being clear and then us putting proposals out on the street that folks took time to apply for, that they will be more specific or explicit in what they want or what they don't want, but that will come with the 2024 solicitation. But as it's outlined now, I think we could make a good argument that there is some preventive approach here. To if it's a high enough degree, that's another matter. We as staff did not want to make that call, though, Madam Chair, that it was not good enough. That's not our job. Our job is to present the projects to you as a body, have you decide, and then we will take it and we will try as best we can to defend these approaches.
So then the follow-up question is, if this board adopts the staff recommendation that's in the agenda, what's the next steps?
So we will then produce a summary of the projects and submit them to BJA. And then those projects go before a group at BJA and they review whether they're going to allow the project to move forward. If it's a no, states who have had projects rejected, even though they had the basis of a good argument that this really kind of is preventative, have not been very successful. When it's been a no, it's been a no, and we start from scratch.
Are there any other questions for staff? Okay. So I will open the floor for a motion.
Tom Rankin with the AGs. I'll try a motion here. Move that this advisory board approve the grant projects from the Arizona Administrative Office of the Courts and the Maricopa County Attorney's Office in the amounts set forth in table DC1 of the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. That's Dan.
Okay. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. Okay, now it is time to move on to number 4, for the call to the public. I don't know if we've received any requests to speak. All right, staff's indicated that there is nobody's asked to speak. So do we need to set another meeting?
Madam Chair, the next meeting will happen at the call of the chair. I'm anticipating that we will get notification of the 2024 State Crisis Intervention Grant. We will apply for that. Very much similar fashion to what we did with this first pot of money. There might be some changes based on my earlier comments about proper placement of focus based on what the administration wants. But we will come back to you after we get that grant, and we will see if there's any specific focus you would like us to place on those pots of money before we put them in a competitive grant announcement and roll them out. So we don't have a timeline for that. And so call the chair is what we need.
With that, I think we will adjourn for today.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, members.
Thank you.